Okay, so now that we've done our test fit, we've removed the body. You can see we still have all the clamps in place up at the roll cage support, the vice grip clamps down on the bottom holding the angle aluminum. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop those off. We've marked where we want our angle aluminum. That's important to know. What I usually do is leave the clamps up in the top there, and then what we'll do is we'll just slide this panel out towards the back. So we'll leave that reference point there. I'm going to unclamp that, slide this off, set it down on the trunk, move our angle out of the way, and then this is going to need to slide out. You can see I've got the gun ready with the tip change. You can see it's, it takes a couple inches for it to mix. Once it goes white, that means that it's mixed, and that's what you want to see. So if you get that, if it's going to run orange all the way up, or if it's still kind of that like creamsicle going on up in here, you want to make sure that it's going to turn white here, and that's the proper mix. You also want to have a rag or a couple of thick paper towels ready to go, because sometimes when you set the gun down there might be a little bit of excess, because when you pull the trigger it's pushing it through, and it's not like a 1-to-1 ratio. If you pull the trigger, it squeezes some out. It kind of still flows after you pull the trigger. Now, the trick to it is when you are done with sending the Plexus out the tube is if you click the handle forward like that, that will stop the flow. Even when you do that, there's still kind of some pressure in there, and it might kind of drip out. So whenever I'm done applying the Plexus, I'll pop the handle forward and lay it down so that the tip is over the rag or the towel. In case it does drip, it doesn't get on the floor, it doesn't get on your hands. That's the other thing, gloves. You want to definitely be wearing latex or nitrile gloves so that you don't get this on your hands. The other thing, make sure that your protective film is peeled away, out of the way. You don't want it to like get into the Plexus and then pull away and drag the Plexus across the aluminum, because once it sets up and it hardens, it's there. So you want to avoid that at all costs. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've got Plexus ready, you can see the valve is open because it's in line with the tip. Give this a couple of squeezes of the trigger, and then I'm going to do like a zigzag pattern. I want to make sure to leave myself room on the outer edges for the weight of the panel to smear the Plexus and not come over the edge. So you can see I'm staying about a ½ inch away from all of the edges. Sometimes I'll just kind of wipe the tip there on the angle aluminum. This is where I'm going to need your help for a second. So we'll just lift this up, and I'm going to slide this in, but I don't want to just drag it across the bottom. So they're going to lift it up for me, and then I'm going to slide it along until I'm at the point where I know where I was before. I'm basically at the end, so you guys can go ahead and let it down. Okay, and then you can shimmy it back and forth a little bit until you're happy with the fit, but you just don't want to drive it all the way in. Okay, so I'll leave it there for now. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. And again, leave that one in. Slide this out. Slide this piece out. And again, notice I'm doing this over the film portion. I'm not doing it over the piece that we peeled back over here. Okay, ready guys? Okay, good. Close to where we want it. Okay, now we're ready to start putting the sides in. So now I'm going to apply some Plexus to the side. Again, you can get it down into the corner pretty good there, because you don't have to worry about it smearing out into a visible area. But up on that top edge there, I try to stay away from that. Again, see I click the handle forward and I kind of set the excess there, and I'll bring it over to the paper towel, wipe it down. Again, remember this panel here that we've taken the film completely off of, that's the outside panel. Set that in, slide it in between our bracket. Make sure that we don't extend beyond the weather stripping. You can see the weather stripping is going to line up here. So leave that in. This is the part where it gets a little bit tricky, because now we've got to be really careful because we're laying the Plexus down for the 1-inch angle, so there's not a lot of margin for error here. The other thing to keep in mind is I'm kind of using the wall as my reference for how far towards the inside I can go. This is where you want to make sure that you're pressed up against the roll cage tube, because if you're not and you're using the panel as a reference, you're going to end up being out in the middle of the trunk floor, and when you clamp it down, it's going to smear the Plexus out into an area that's going to be visible. So I'll leave that there, and then I'll come up and I'll also hit the side wall here. And when you clamp these angle pieces back down, if you see that it is coming up from the top edge of the angle aluminum, you can wipe it off. You just want to be careful that you don't smear it as you're wiping it, and you want to catch it right away before it dries. I've got my angle aluminum. Again, keeping in mind that I've marked it down in the front for how far forward I want to go, but a good frame of reference is that you want to bring this back usually till the top corner meets that edge of the aluminum, and you know you're pretty much safe there. How am I looking on the black mark there?
Past back towards you. You're pretty close. Right there you're on it.
Okay. Now I'm going to come in here and use my clamps again. You'll see it kind of wants to shimmy a little bit when you clamp it down. You want to make sure you're maintaining your original position. Then I put the clamping side on the inside, it'll just fit better. There you go. That down low. And as far as you can, yeah. Okay, and then we're going to repeat that process for the same side. Once we get that side panel up, we're going to use a spreader bar to apply some tension to the middle of the angle aluminum to make sure that it's tight as it can be all the way through the angle aluminum. And then it takes about 20 minutes to 30 minutes for the Plexus to set, but I usually just let it set up overnight just as a safe measure so it doesn't shift or anything. Because again, we're asking the angle aluminum to kind of flex a little bit so that the walls can splay out a little bit because they're not perfectly vertical. So I usually like to give it the chance to set up fully as much as possible.